Welcome back to OpenLine tonight. We are talking about the total solar eclipse happening next Monday, trying to answer all of your questions ahead of that time. We have James on the line calling in. James, thanks for being with us.
Yes, I'd like to ask a question. I have a electric arc welder. It has a welding helmet that comes with it with special lenses in it, so you can use the welder. Would that be enough protection to look at this eclipse through an arc welder welding helmet?
James, that's a really interesting question. Everyone knows they need something, but what is that something? So will the welding helmet work?
So the answer to that question, James, is yes. As long as, and to tell you the truth, I didn't know that much about welding goggles before a couple of months ago when we started thinking about appropriate eyewear for viewing the partial phases. If it's a number 14 or darker, that's what I'm told. If it's a 14 or darker shade of welding goggle, then you're in good shape and you can feel safe to look at the sun.
That's very interesting. I did not know that. Okay, and by the way, I didn't introduce our guest this time around. Dr. Ron Henderson from MTSU, professor of physics and astronomy, teaching us all about the eclipse. So if you have a question, really now is the time to call and ask that question. And remember, no question is silly about this. This is new territory for all of us, since it is a once-in-a-lifetime event. And I know as a child, there were partial eclipses, and you said that's not uncommon because it's all about location.
Yes.
But you also said something in our last segment that's very interesting, especially for any stargazers that may be out there. This total solar eclipse is going to bring out stars we usually don't get to see, at least this time of year.
Exactly. So if you think about the Earth going around the sun, the stars that are behind the sun we don't see. So we have to have our backs to the sun, which is at nighttime, and we see stars. So the stars that will be apparent, I have a small list of a few: Arcturus, Regulus, Procyon, and Sirius, for instance. So these are quite bright stars, but they're in the winter sky. So this will be the first time any of us in this viewing area have ever seen these stars in August.
And that gets stargazers pretty excited, something like that.
It's just another thing to get excited about.
Absolutely. All right, and you also have another picture to show us, an animation this time.
Right.
Because we talked about the moons and we saw them going around, and you said, why wouldn't this be more prevalent, I guess?
If you don't mind, let me set this up before we take a look at it. But from the prior pictures, you might get the idea that every new moon, there should be an eclipse. And that doesn't happen. We don't have them every month. So the reason for that, one of the main reasons, is that the tilt of the moon's orbit, it is tilted with respect to the sun. So what I mean is, if you were to make a straight line from the sun to the Earth, we call that the ecliptic. The moon is not orbiting there. The moon is orbiting at an angle. So only twice a year does the moon's orbit intersect this ecliptic. We call these nodes. So every 6 months, it's a possibility that you might have an eclipse.
Okay.
But then there's another piece that makes it even a little bit rarer. But actually, this might be a good time to look at the animation.
Let's see if we can do that. Courtney, can you pull up that animation for us? Here we go.
So what you're seeing here in the center is the Earth, and what you're seeing orbiting is the moon, and these are to scale. And those long black lines to the right are the shadows. So this is an example of a new phase where the moon is below the Earth. So obviously the shadow didn't intersect us.
Right.
And now this is 6 months later, and it just so happens that the shadow does go across the moon, go across the Earth. So that's something that makes them a little bit less common. About every 6 months you might have one. But there's something else that makes them even more uncommon.
Okay. And
this has to do with the fact that the moon, as it orbits the Earth, is sometimes a little closer and sometimes a little farther because its orbit is an ellipse. If it's a little closer to us and we look in the sky, it seems larger. As it pulls away from us, it seems smaller. Well, it has to be close to us to be large enough to block the sun. And so that only happens about once every 18 months. So a good rule of thumb is a total solar eclipse somewhere on the planet about twice every 3 years.
Okay. But then for it to happen where you are on this massive world.
One thing that's really interesting to me about that is the delay between total solar eclipses can be as short as 18 months or as long as 1,500 years.
Wow.
There are some places you could live. In fact, Los Angeles, California is one of those places.
Really?
Their prior solar eclipse was, I believe, in the 1700s, and the next one's in about the year 3000.
Oh my goodness.
So if you live there and you never move, you're not going to see a total solar eclipse.
I guess.
Sorry about that.
Okay, let's jump back to the lines. We have Lynn waiting ever so patiently on the line. Lynn, thanks for being with us. What's your question?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Well, thank y'all for really getting into this, because you know, parents lead by example, and every parents are really into this. So this really is great for our kids in school learning about this, and all the people involved, and all our parents so interested. So it's really good. But my question is, our animals in the wintertime, we have to go out and get them and bring them in because of the ice and snow. The eclipse is going to be bad for any human's eyes. What about our fur babies? Do we need to bring our cats and dogs in during this? Because in the wintertime, we fur baby mamas and daddies are out there grabbing them babies and bringing them in for protection. What about the animals during the solar eclipse?
That's a great, because you can't strap on the sunglasses, right?
No, that's true. I think that'd be difficult.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be a problem for animals at all. And this is why. It's not that if they stared at the sun, it wouldn't be detrimental. It's that they're not going to know there's any reason to look at the sun, right? They're not watching the news. They don't know the eclipse is happening. And except for that 1 minute or 1 to 2 minutes of totality, there's very little change to the day. What they might think is, oh, it's getting dark a little too soon today. But I don't think an animal is going to start staring at the sun because
what's going on up there?
Exactly, because the change is just not that drastic until you get almost to totality. And during totality, it's actually okay to look at the sun.
Right. That's when you can actually take your glasses off.
So it's, if you want to watch the sun during the whole time, you're going to have an hour and a half with glasses on, 1 minute off, and an hour and a half with glasses on. So basically, your glasses on are all day.
I guess so. Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm sorry, I don't remember who is on line 3 here. So if you hear me talking to you, go ahead with your question. I think it's Stephen. I'm told. Stephen, are you there? Go ahead with your question.
Yes, I have an issue with glare, and I want to know, I have 2 questions. One of them is, after this event is over with, is it good to drive, or will it be so dark that you'll still need to be really careful or should not be on the road? And the other one is, since I'm planning to be on the inside because I have had so many issues with my eyes in the past, I'm just going to be watching the television on the inside and all of the coverage. But the other question is there anything that is there any kind of danger aspect according to the stuff that you will be, the coverage that you will be showing, and is it okay to look at that with just your, regular eyesight? Can you watch the TV safely? That's my question.
Okay, let's answer both those questions. I'll put you on hold, so listen to your TV. Okay, thank you, Stephen. Let's start with the driving one. Okay,
for the driving one, there'll be no problem driving. Now, if you have an issue driving at night, then actually there'll be, again, 1 to 2 minutes where you might have a problem. So in Nashville, starting at 1:28. I'm from Murfreesboro. We start at 1:29. There's 1 to 2 minutes where you might not want to be out. Sounds like you're already going to be at home, so that's probably the right situation. But even if you were outside that 1 to 2 minutes, you'll be fine. It might seem, for the 5 to 10 minutes before, it might seem like it's twilight, but there'll be plenty of light. It won't be like nighttime.
And then the second question was watching on TV. And we do have a special. I'm going to go ahead and tease it. A special on News Channel 5 from 1 to 2 next Monday. We have reporters spread all across this region, from Hopkinsville on down south. So go ahead and tune in, and you can watch safely in your own home through TV.
That's right.
Yeah, no problem.
But both the TV cameras, if they are focused at the sun, they have correct filters.
Yes.
And so the intensity is definitely going to be safe for viewers.
So go ahead, Stephen, watch at home. We've got you protected. We'll bring you all the excitement and the hoopla, and you'll be able to get to see it right there on your TV. And if you're going to be away and stuck in a building, just DVR it and go home and watch it later. Because again, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
That's right.
Our phone lines are lit up. People have got questions about this, so we're going to jump right to it. Let's see. Celine is on the line. I'm trying to get to everybody in the order they called. So Celine, go ahead with your question.
Hello.
Hi. Go ahead.
Okay, I've got 2 questions.
Okay.
One is, where can we get the glasses if you don't have internet access? Number 2, I wear glasses regularly, so do I put them on the outside of those glasses or the inside?
Let's start with that. Okay, Celine, hang up and listen to your TV so you hear the answer.
I'm really glad you asked that question, Celine, because not only for glasses, but also if you have a telescope or if you have binoculars, it's important to know the answer to the second question, and that is the first thing that the sunlight should touch is the glasses. So if you already have prescription glasses like I do, you want these on the outside.
Ah, okay.
So this is the correct way. Actually, with glasses, it's not that big of a deal. But for a telescope, it is a big deal, because what's happening is the light that's entering the telescope is in a field of, let's say, 12 inches diameter. And we want to filter it there where the sun is not very focused. If you wait until after it's gone through the telescope to the eyepiece, now suddenly the beam of light is much smaller, the density is so high that the glasses might not be enough. So for telescopes and binoculars and people with glasses, the first thing on the very outside should be your goggles.
That's an easy way to remember it. Now, Celine, I do want to answer your questions. I have a list here of where you can probably, I say probably because a lot of places have sold out, find glasses still today. And I know the Adventure Science Center has some. I know that for a fact. We covered that today on the news. 7-Eleven, Best Buy, Bi-Mart, not sure we have any of those. Circle K, Hobbytown, Kirkland's, Kroger, Love's Travel Stops, Lowe's, McDonald's. Oh, that's Oregon only. Sorry, that's not us. Check if you have a local Pilot or a Flying J, Toys R Us, and Walmart. I think everybody's got a Walmart. So those are stores that probably would have the glasses, and they're pretty cheap to buy. So if you can find them, just get a few. No big deal. Okay, let's jump to another phone call. We have Brian on the line. Brian, thank you for being with us.
Hi, I want to say hi to Doc and yourself. You know me, I call in for Nick all the time.
Well, good. We're glad you're with us tonight. What's your question?
Listen, so my brother's an eye doctor, optometrist in Virginia. He's out of the flight path, but he said he doesn't even really trust those glasses and stuff. And he gave me Ray-Bans, and I've got some Serengetis, and the doc will know those aren't good either. So he recommends there's something you can pinch a hole in the box and then put a paper on the ground, and then you can see it through that like we did in school.
Yes.
So and then about the telescope, I wasn't quite clear because I've had a refractive telescope since I was a kid. And you could watch a lunar eclipse with that, and you can't watch a solar. And I was going to say, if I did get those glasses or heavy sunglasses and looked into the telescope with them on, are you supposed to have the glasses on the outside edge of the lens of the telescope? How does that work?
Okay, we'll explain it again. Brian, thank you for calling in. Okay, so let's clarify a little bit.
That's right. So his question, Brian, your question about the telescope is a good one. So if you have proper glasses, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment, it's no good to put them on and then look through the telescope. You've got to have some kind of, you have to have a filter mechanism for decreasing the intensity of the sun right at the onset, the entry point of the telescope. So if you have that refractive telescope and you have good glasses, you cannot use it. The filter must be the first thing that the light encounters in whatever the viewing situation is.
And also, and it's gotten so confusing because a lot of people order glasses through Amazon and then they just got the recall notice, and some distributors around here like the Tennessee Museum got their glasses through Amazon. Then they had to tell people, hey, wait, we gave out faulty glasses. Yes. How do people know they have legitimate, safe glasses? Well,
one thing they can look for is that there is a ISO, you may have seen this before, ISO 12312-2. Now, if they pass that, they are safe. Now, obviously, any company could stamp that on the outside of their glasses, and so you don't know for sure. So one source I know of information is the American Astronomical Society. This is the AAS. They have a website where they have vetted companies. And so they have a website where they show manufacturers that they know are selling legitimate glasses. So there should also be a manufacturer on those glasses.
Okay.
And if you're unsure about the manufacturer, one place you can look is on the AAS website.
And that stands for, again, the American
Astronomical Society.
Yes. So if you have a computer, go ahead and look that up. We have to take a quick break, but I promise more of your phone calls after the break. We have a few lines open, about 3 lines open. So if you have a question about the eclipse, go ahead and give us a call during the break. We'll get you lined up, 615-737+. Stay with us.